Welcome back. This is Signature Television, and this is Signature Morning. So we're switching gears to talk about our local government areas. Recently, we had Nulge, that is a National Union of Local Government Employees, really adding their voice to this dichotomy, this discussion as it relates to the local governments, the autonomy as it relates to the local government. With us in the studio, the president of the Nulge Association here in Enugu State, Mr. Ani Udoaga. Good to have you. Good morning.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
We're happy to have you here.
Comrade,
Comrade. How do you
Pleasure.
do?
Is it?
How do you do?
I'm great. I'm great.
So, what do you make of this latest development as relates to the local government autonomy?
Okay, in Nigeria.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Okay, the recent developments. It's a good feeling. It's a potent hope because a whole lot is going to happen with that. It's going to spiral developments within the light and breadth of Nigeria, because virtually every part of this country falls within a local government. So, with the autonomy, what it entails is that it's moving away from the stranglehold. I mean, especially the financial aspect. But it's important at this point we understand that what the Supreme Court has just done by interpreting the 1999 Constitution as regards to autonomy. What they've just done is financial autonomy. They've just given, we're yet to have political autonomy. So with that financial autonomy, of course, like we know, what it entails is that funds meant for local government will flow down uninhibited. I mean, without interference. And you can imagine the level of development. Because before now, it has been with some level of interference from the state governments. And for those who don't mean well, the local governments had suffered over time. And I must say, majority of the states, they didn't mean well, with the exception of few. So that had strangled developments within the rural areas and rural communities. And local government system is quite important in the sense that for the person in the village, for the person in the interior parts, the obscure parts of Nigeria that can't come to the city, the big cities, that's the government they can touch, they can feel.
Absolutely.
That's the government closest to them.
Right.
So,
but do you think there's an actual autonomy right now as it stands? Because we've seen how local government elections have been conducted post-Supreme Court's interpretation. Every state, the last 2-3 months have been rushing into doing this election in order to make sure that, because the caveat is that you are not going to receive that local government monies from the federation account if you don't have an adequate people manning those positions. So one would wonder, really, with what you have seen, really, is it an autonomy?
It's not yet quite uhuru. It's going to take time. It's for something that has been in existence for a long time. It's not going to be quite spontaneous. It's going to take quite some time for the system to get used to it. Just like you said, there's been this frenzy for some time now. The various state governments to beat the deadline so that the allocation will not stop coming. So it's going to
a situation where you have governors still picking and picking people who would go for the local government election. At the same time, the party finally wins. And we have also heard there's some sort of arrangement in places like Anambra. We've seen how Tuludo is even trying to make it look like that's, look, you can't tell me what to do with my local government. There should be some counterpart funding in such a way that, you know, the government will bring some and and that's not actually what, you know, the import of that Supreme Court judgment actually meant. I'm sure you've seen that particular comment by the Tuludo government. What's your reaction to that?
Yes, Anambra's case is, in fact, I think Anambra is notorious in this respect, and what it has to do with the local government system, what has been obtained in Anambra for a long time, spanning over over a decade, close to 2 decades. It has not been anything to write home about. We understand that until now, elections have not been held at
the local
levels
level,
in Anambra for a very long time,
Yes.
over 15 years. I think it's the highest in the country, and there was a serious outcry from even non-Anambra indigents, and the governor caved in to pressure and conducted the local government election well. There were equally views and cries about how it was done anyway. So the recent posture of Anambra State government, even to the extent of going to their state assemblies to manipulate the whole thing, like as done by the Supreme Court, is quite disturbing. It's quite disturbing. It's not like a test case. It's not like trying to throw spanner into the works of all the achievements done so far in recent time, especially with the pronouncement of the Supreme Court. So it's disturbing to the entire Nulge family. In fact, I came back from Abuja on Friday. So we had a Nulge week at Abuja. All the Nulge family, all the Nulge chapters all over the country were there for last week. It was on the front burner. What the Anambra governor is doing is disturbing, and the union is not taking it lightly. The union they have their own plans to make sure to stem that, because it's an ugly tide. To make sure, because the essence of local government, freeing the local government system. I think why most of them are succeeding is because, just like I said, what the Supreme Court just did was to the financial autonomy aspect. The political autonomy is yet to come in. I believe if the political autonomy comes in, it's going to be a different ball game. We know that in the past there was a high level of political autonomy. I know when they used to call them FEDECO, NECO, at the point they metamorphosed to NECO. That's what we call INEC today.
Yes.
But it's a federal structure that was conducting the local government elections. And you need to see the level of vibrancy at the local governments. Incidentally, the proximity of the local government to my family house, my own local government, was so almost sharing the same fence. So as young men, we come in, sometimes we go to, most people don't even know, we go to witness the deliberations at the legislature. I mean, when they're having their sittings. Most people don't even know that the councillors are the legislature, are the legislative arm of the local government. It's a unicameral system down there. So most people don't even know about that now, because it's not that vibrant. It's more like an appendage of the ESCO. So, but those days it used to be very vibrant. That was what made local government vibrant, because I remember when we had option A4, what they call a little to the left and a little to the right. That's SDP and see there's NRC. If that time local government autonomy on both financial and political were in place. If you come to various councils, virtually all the councils then, you will see councillors from PDP, SDP, you see councillors from NRC, and come to their legislative sessions. Very vibrant. You hear about impeachment, you hear about this, you hear about, robust debates. You understand? And the funds were coming directly at the end of each month after fact. The various treasurers of the local government will go to CBN.
Yes.
CBN and get their money directly. And if you watch, most of the milestones achieved in the local government systems were then. Because you as a local government chairman, you now know that for you to win the next election, you need to perform. You understand? So unlike what we've had over some period of time now, when especially when the autonomy were taken. And I must tell you, the 1999 Constitution, which is interesting that we have to know that it was Obasanjo's government that created local government system. It has been under reforms for a long time. And during Obasanjo's time, as a military leader in the 70s, I think that's from 1976 to 1979. So you could discover that the local government systems were very functional. A lot of things were achieved. But the 1999 Constitution came into being and created, actually it gave a local government, recognized the local government as a third tier. It gave it a statutory recognition. No, it didn't give it a statutory recognition, but recognized it as a third tier. And created what they call JAC, Joint Allocation Committee. That's what it is. Once after fact, Federal Allocation Committee finished distributing the funds, the various state AGs, accountant generals will go and get the money on behalf of both state and local government. And there's a body, a pool they call JAC in the states, various state levels. That's where they now begin to do the distribution. And but I must tell you, the same 1999 Constitution provided for 10% of various state IGRs generated to go to local governments. That is, you discover that apart from the allocations that are supposed to be accrued to local governments, the various states are supposed to distribute the 10% of the internally generated revenue from their states, distribute it to the local governments. But we all know that over time, that's not what it has been. Because of the successive governments in the past, there have been serial abuse of the local government system. And instead of giving, they were taken away. And that had seriously forestalled reasonable developments at the local government level. And to a great extent, if you search deeper, if you do proper investigations about the recent insecurity happenings in the country, it takes root from that.
Okay, you made mention of financial autonomy before, so I wanted to know, we've had Nulge support, advocating for local government autonomy. But I'm just wondering, why is Nulge supporting this? What is fueling the enthusiasm into supporting this local government autonomy? Is there any underlying gain for Nulge?
Yes, the first underlying gain of Nulge is that as citizens, first of all, as citizens, we want to see a better country where things work in every strata. Just like I said, we know that all the parts of the country falls within the local government. And we know that this insecurity all over the country takes its significant root from the absence of visible governance at the local government areas, there were certain infrastructures and human human capacity building that were supposed to be there, and they've not been there over time. And you can imagine the level of insecurity it has created. You know, there are no jobs there. Even the agriculture that is most of the rural areas are known for, which is even one of the reasons why local governments were created, to trigger off serious agricultural developments at the rural areas. Is no longer there. So we have a whole lot of local governments have become cesspool of idle men, young men, and frustrations, and you can just imagine that that's a recipe for chaos and insecurity.
But why do you not allow it, really? I mean, because it looks like you people stayed akimbo, do nothing about what happened, and you felt like some of your executive have laid on that same bed with the state government, who, you know, in their notorious ways decided to break that connection that the local government or the autonomy that local government should actually have.
Not quite. We've not been. We didn't lay back. It's a process. We've been fighting it over time. But you know, the politicians, I mean the political class, they seem to be somehow so powerful that they had over time frustrated all the attempts. And you know, some of these things are subject to amendment of laws, constitutional amendments, and you can imagine what the country has been over time. They had successfully frustrated. I know frustrated all our efforts in the recent past to have an autonomous local government. I know that during the constitutional amendment, sometime organized by the National Assemblies, the several of them, I know that we had sponsored several of the amendments, which includes the local government autonomy. And we got so close, but the various states legislatures, through the pressure of this ESCOs, these various state executives, this time around the governors, I mean the previous governors, they frustrated it. Because there is certainly there is a percentage of number of votes that you require for it to sell through. So we couldn't get it because you know the local government funds seem to be a cash cow for most state governors. So they've always come heavily on any attempt for us to achieve local government autonomy. So it's not quite true that we've been laid back. And I must have to say, credit should go to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's what we've been saying. For any leader that wants development, genuine developments at the rural areas, and by implication the rest of the country, that leader should help to bring about local government autonomy. I think that's what Tinubu had done. He seemed to have the political will, and he threw his energy, his force on this. Unlike before, it has always been only the union fighting, but this time around, we seem to have a good partner in the federal government that's now realized that there is need to have a functional local government, true local government autonomy, because they've equally discovered that most of the insecurity is devastating the country has a root to lack of or the absence of local government autonomy. So we praise the federal government headed by Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for throwing their weight behind it. And that's why it sailed through. We achieved what we've achieved so far, which is the financial autonomy. And we are saying, everybody's saying, the political autonomy is going to be the icing on the cake to achieving, just like what you said before, a situation where the governors handpick, even with the financial autonomy, they handpick the local government chairman and councillors. It's quite frustrating. But I think it's a process. We've
but how do you think the process should be done? Say politically, for instance, if you guys are asked, we have done this by at least allowing the local government access its funds directly. For the political autonomy, how do you think it should be done so that it would seem like something is independent, that local government is running on its own without the interference of the state government?
You're talking about the political autonomy. Yes. I think it should still go through the same legislative process. I think the National Assembly, they seem to be helping in this respect. I think very soon they will come up with a law. They're working on it to ensure, because we've all seen what happened recently, where with the recent local government elections all over the country, that most of them are nothing to write home about. They're nothing to write home about. There seem to be obvious manipulations, especially to the only the benefits of the party in power, and that cannot give the rural populace the best. Nigerians, they seem to know how to wriggle out of every situation. But we are hoping the National Assembly, I think they are doing something about it, knowing that until there is a political autonomy, the financial autonomy might not be that effective,
to some extent.
To some extent, and we bet you we will be at the forefront towards achieving the political autonomy. Okay,
coming back to financial autonomy, you talked about insecurity. The reason to breach or to stop insecurity if the local government, of course, is given that autonomy. But right now that they have financial autonomy, are we going to see a time where the insecurities in the rural areas are being reduced and then more efficient in terms of productivity?
Yes. Let's take a cue from what's happening in Enugu State. We don't do this as Labour leaders, but the present governor of Enugu State, he's showing some spark, some sparks. I think this thing is all about the governor meaning well for the people. It's all about meaning well for the people. Because if you check properly, the 1999 Constitution that gave local governments that gave local government, recognized local government as a third tier, and said 10% of state IGR should go to them. This constitution means well. The draft has meant well, and I believe some governors over time have equally shown understanding. The present governor of Enugu State, we've been following him. He has interest in the local governments. In fact, last time we were at the government house, he told us a whole lot of programs, agric programs he has for local government, and a lot of programs, mind-boggling and revolutionary programs, So for us, in Enugu State here, I think we are having a good governor that seems to be partnering with us in the local government system. He seemed to understand that there is a need to give local government some breathing space to function with some level of synergy, because ultimately, with the autonomies, even if there is both financial and political autonomy, there should still be some level of synergy between the state and the local government. I think the present government seems to understand that very well, and they are towing that part. What was? I hope I answered your question. What was it? It's like I debated a little bit.
I wanted to be sure that the insecurities in local government areas is going to be reduced, as you said earlier.
Well, yes. There's no denying the fact that when people are, especially the youth segment of our populace, are idle, there's bound to be insecurity, and that's why I've always said that. Apart from the guns and firearms are not the best way to checkmate crime. Human beings by nature, even crime in itself, is not easy to be used as a trade. It's not easy, but sometimes most youths are left with virtually no option, and it's not as if going to crime is something that should be recommended, but we all don't have the same background and faith leaning. So why the foreign climes, the advanced wars, why they try to make the environment very conducive is that they want to make sure that anybody that is going into crime, the person has just made up his mind to go into crime. It's not because of maybe you can't feed, or maybe you can't afford the basics, necessities of life. But that's not what it is in this climate. Here, people are pushed to the wall already. People are not sure where the next meal is coming from. People are like, there's no hope. So, because of our different backgrounds and upbringing and lack of supporting systems, some people will go out of their way to involve in crime. So it's going to help tremendously the local government autonomy, so that we can be sleeping with our eyes closed in our various areas, our homes, safely. So it's going to be good for everyone, big and small. The local government autonomy is not just for the Nulge workers. It's not just for local government workers. First of all, it's going to be the betterment of the entire populace, Nigerian populace. It's going to be revolutionary in terms of the effect. It's going to be, because imagine if there are jobs in every nook and cranny of this country, and there is hope. Hope leads people to a great extent. Like these days, most people don't even have hope.
Right.
And that's what pushes them into crime.
It is a whole lot we'll talk about, because many people have also blamed the union workers for not even speaking to their staff. If you go to local governments, it's like weeds have taken over the entire place. That workers don't even come to work. Yes. And it's true. It's something that you can verify if you go to local government areas across the state.
But there is a cause. It's a systemic failure. It's a systemic failure. The failure, you can't just pin it down on one particular group. It's a systemic failure. If you do proper analysis, it's a leadership failure. Wow. Because why is it that a system that was functional, where workers will leave their homes 7 o'clock, go to local government secretary. How come it has degenerated such a way, to such a way, it's to the extent that workers no longer go to work? So the system was working before, but how come now it no longer works? So it shows that over time, because of the leadership decadence, it has snowballed into the situation where the workers no longer go to work. Is a topic on itself.
On its own, yes. I was going to talk about that.
I will tell you that it's a whole lot.
We're going to talk about that.
There's a whole lot of rot in the system.
I think we're going to invite you sometime again, maybe next week or 2 weeks after, to talk about just that.
The local government workers not going to work is just symptoms
of the main issue.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the symptoms. It's not the
main issue.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that. Thank you so much for your time today. We truly, really appreciate your insight on the show today. The president of Nulge, that's the National Union of Local Government Employees.
Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees.
Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees.
Most times people interchange it, but it's Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees. Because
Employees.
other unions mostly answer national. I think that's the confusion there.
Okay.
Nigerian Union of Local Government Employees.
Okay, Comrade Odoaga, Annie, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. You're welcome.